I was surprised when I heard this story. Not because of anything, but because of what we've been made to believe in. So I head to the internet to make some quick research, and this is what I found. His software has at least 10 million monthly users. His company is valued over 3 billion US dollars. He's made it to the Forbes billionaires list as one of the richest immigrants in America. And in 2025, he's worth over 1.4 billion US dollars. Who am I talking about today? Today, I want us to talk about Tope Awotona, a young man born in Lagos, Nigeria, and how he immigrated to the United States to build this billion-dollar company with 650 employees as it stands now, and also to learn the 3 key lessons we can apply on our own path without borders. Let's dive in. Tope Awotona was born in Lagos, Nigeria on May 4th, 1981. His mother was a chief pharmacist at Nigeria Central Bank, and his father was a microbiologist who later turned into entrepreneurship. In 1993, he was just 12 years old when a tragic incident took place. One warm evening, as his father drove home from work, carjackers also trailed him into their own residential compound. Tope watched in horror as the armed men confronted his dad. They asked his father for his car key, but in desperation, his father also tossed the car key away. Because of that, the carjackers shot his father right in front of him and killed him. Remember that Tope was just 12 years old and he had to see this tragic incident happen right in front of him. What do you think could have happened to young Awotona? It could have given him a lifelong trauma or even something worse. But instead of trauma or living his whole life as a victim, it rather lit a fire in him to carry on the legacy of the entrepreneurial journey that his father started but could not complete. So fast forward in 1996, Tope was 15 years old while his mother packed up the entire family's life in Lagos and immigrated to the United States. When they go to the United States, they settled in the suburbs of Atlanta, Georgia, where some of his relatives had already established themselves. At age 15, he enrolled in Wheeler High School in Marietta, Georgia for his 11th and 12th grade. In 1998, after high school, he enrolled at the University of Georgia to offer computer science, but he later switched to management information system along the way. In 2022, at the age of 21, he graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration, and he got his first job with IBM, but later, after some years, he moved to Perspective Software as an account executive in Kansas City. This is where the story gets interesting, and I call it the aha moment. To those of you that work in the corporate industry, you already know that at some point you have a staff meeting or however you call it in your company. So it was a staff meeting as usual, but something happened that gave Tope Awotona his aha moment. It happened that Perspective Software CEO in the name of Scott Kuhn will share the origin story of his company that very day. He recounted how Perspective grew from a tiny idea, waded many twists and failures, yet kept going until it flourished. As everybody was listening, Tope too was listening. But to him, it wasn't just a story, it was rather a revelation. Until then, he had harbored an idealized notion that a successful company's trajectory was a straight and upward movement. But Kuhn disabused him of that myth. He showed him that resilience and persistence in the face of setback were the only real secret sauce that makes a company. That was his aha moment. In one of his latest articles, he said, "For the first time, I realized that successful companies do not always take a straight path forward. They learn from their mistake, they kept persistent until it leads to great success." So, after he had his aha moment and knowing the truth about how successful companies are made, he began his own entrepreneurial journey. His first company was an online dating website called Single to Taken. However, Tope quickly hit the wall. The company failed because He had no technical co-founder. He has limited coding skills himself and not enough money to hire top developers, so the project never even made it to launch. It was very unfortunate, starting his first company and failing. Next, Tope ventured into online retail. He started an e-commerce website called projectorspot.com to sell LCD projectors and related equipment. But he soon found out that selling physical product is really a tough grind. One, he had to sell many projectors and the margins too were terrible, so that too hit the wall. That company too failed. Then he started another company called Yard Steel. It was an online shop for yards equipment. That too, unfortunately, failed. 3 business, 3 failures. So with all these 3 business failures, he made a vow to himself that his next venture must meet these 3 criteria. First, it had to be a domain he was knowledgeable about or at least deeply interested in. And 2, it should solve an important real-world problem, ideally one he had ever experienced personally. And the third one is that it needed to be proprietary, meaning he would create a unique product or intellectual property rather than reselling goods as he did with projectors and the grills. Tope Awotona's real breakthrough finally happened in the late 2012. At the time, he was juggling various jobs, meetings as part of his consulting work. One day, he found himself trying to coordinate a meeting with a large group of people, of about 10 colleagues or clients, and it turned out to be a logistical nightmare. Emails flew back and forth. Can you do on Wednesday? Can you do at 3 p.m.? The person will also say no, I'm booked. How about Thursday morning? Sorry, traveling. What about Friday? And so on and so forth. It was really a logistical nightmare and very frustrating. So with this frustration, he said to himself that there had to be a better way for busy people like him to find meeting schedule without endless emails like this. So he started searching online for scheduling tools he could use, and to his surprise, every existing option was either clunky, limited, or came with strings attached. That is when he realized that there is a business in this domain. And not only that there's a business in this domain, this idea met all his criteria. He understood the problem deeply from personal experience. It was a pain point for millions of people, and building a solution would mean creating proprietary software, exactly the kind of product business he wanted. So in the early 2013, Tope Awotona decided to go all in like never before. He poured his entire life savings, roughly around $200,000 into building the product. And when that money wasn't enough, he maxed out his credit cards and even emptied his 401k retirement account. In one of his famous interviews with Forbes, he said, "I went for broke and put every single dollar I had ever made into it. My previous businesses, I hedged my bets a little bit and gave myself a way out. But with Calendly, I flew into a war zone and put every single cent I had. If you're going to do something, you have to go all in." That is what Tope said in our interview. Finally, in September 2013, Calendly officially launched to the public. Initially, it was just a one-man company operating out of Tope's apartment in Atlanta, Georgia. Less than 5 years after launch, Calendly's footprint explodes. His service served close to 30 million people worldwide by 2018. By mid-2019, Calendly approached $30 million in annual recurring revenue. In 2021, Calendly's annual revenue exceeded $100 million, and the platform had also reached about 10 million consistent monthly users. Amazing. His net worth too grew to $1.4 billion and was listed as one of the richest immigrants in America on Forbes billionaire list. In 2023, the company had reportedly hit over $276 million in revenue with about 650 employees. This is a very fascinating story. But then, as I promised, these are the 3 most important lessons we can learn from Tope Awotona's journey. First of all, When he was just 12 years old in Lagos, Nigeria in 1983, he witnessed his father being shot during carjacking. As a boy, he learned too early in life that tomorrow isn't promised. The world doesn't pause for our sorrow or our pain. It just keeps moving. And we either freeze inside it or we turn our pain into promise. Life just happens. And when it does, we can do two things. Whether we start complaining as victims or we use the pain as fuel and a little fire inside of us to pursue our ambitions. The second lesson is that before currently, Tope tried 3 ventures: a dating website that never launched, an e-commerce projector shop with thin margins, and a grills or outdoor GS store that all failed. They all failed. But then he learned that failure is a tuition. It's an expensive tuition indeed, but it is cheaper than ignorance. The third lesson is that in 2013, Tope poured his entire life saving, including his 401k, into building Calendly, launching from Atlanta Tech Village with a freemium model. He later called it going for broke. Now, however, the truth of the matter is that there are moments when a man has to close the exit door behind him, not because of recklessness, but because there is a saying that commitment sharpens judgment, and going all in is like a furnace that burns off all excuses and forges focus. If you like this story today, make sure you like it and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Peace.